Welcome back to Ox Talks. It's Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. Be the boss. What does that mean? What it means is you can find motivation, purpose, and identity in owning and operating some type of business of your own. A couple articles I saw this morning that feed into this theme that I wanted to share with you. One is from Zero Hedge. It's called ADP Employment Report Signals Weakest Labor Market Since January 2021. The part of the article that caught my attention is as follows. It says, finally, as we noted recently, the ADP Research Institute, the research arm of the payroll processing firm, released a new report about a real-time way to measure worker motivation. What they found is that a majority of workers aren't motivated, and that might impact long-term productivity. It says ADP researchers surveyed 2,500 workers each month and have noticed the EMC index has slid throughout 2023. In August of 2023, the EMC index fell from 108 to 100, its lowest point since June of 2022. The biggest takeaway, it says, is that most workers aren't motivated at work. There was no clear explanation as to why workers are slacking off, whether they believe their labor is worth much more, meaning looking for more money, or if these folks are spending too much time on TikTok, it says. Workers who are unmotivated in low-skilled, low-paying jobs must understand automation and artificial intelligence will displace them by the end of the decade. Why are workers not motivated? I don't agree with this author's opinion per se. Everybody wants to make more money. If you want to make more money, that would, in essence, make you more motivated, not less motivated. Is everybody spending time all day on TikTok and YouTube? That might be part of it, but I have a different theory. My theory is that the workers are less motivated now because they're being squeezed from so many different directions to simply pay their monthly bills, put food on the table, and provide for their families. For example, if you wake up, the first of each month, you go to your 9-to-5 job, how many days of that month does it take you to work full time just to cover your monthly expenses? Do you have to work the first 15 days of the month, 20 days of the month, 25 days of the month just to cover your bills? And obviously, as we know, everything is going up in the last year substantially. So it's taking more to pay your electric bill. It's taking more to buy groceries, taking more to put gasoline in your car. And it seems to me that as those expenses rise and salaries aren't necessarily keeping up with the rising costs of all the goods, that is causing employees and workers to lose motivation. It's not that they don't believe they're being paid enough or that they're spending time on TikTok. And for those of you that have to work the full 30 days of each month just to try to earn enough to pay your bills and are coming up short and having to then go and borrow off credit cards or take loans to make those ends meet, this is hopefully a story that you can dig into and understand and maybe try to change your circumstances. And that means when you go to work every day for a boss, you are basically, all your labor, all your energy from 9 to 5 is going towards watering your employer or your boss's tree, watering their garden, making them wealthier, not you. When you own your own business, the efforts you put into it are there to better your situation. The revenues you receive from a business that you own go into your pocket. There was another article that I saw this morning from Fortune. It says Jamie Dimon says the next generation of employees will work 3.5 days a week and live to 100 years old. the key part of the article that I saw here says Goldman Sachs predicts that approximately 300 million jobs will be lost to the technology, with around a quarter of the American workforce fearing in the future they will lose their roles to artificial intelligence. So knowing that, what are you going to do about it? If you have a skill set that allows you to form your own business, have your own business, start giving that some serious consideration. Stackers of gold and silver talk about, being your own central bank. Well, being your own boss is a very similar theme, to the extent that you want to the extent that you can, minimize counterparty risk. And that means minimize somebody else's decisions being able to immediately and radically alter your life. What happens if you get laid off? What happens if something financially happens to your employer or your boss that forces them to reduce their staff and you're wrapped up in that? To the extent that you can own your own business, you control, for the most part, those issues. You don't have to worry about somebody else being able to impact your life dramatically in the event of a downturn, in the event of like that article is saying with Jamie Dimon, where AI is going to possibly take over your position. The point is that maybe your skill set doesn't allow you to have your own business for your primary work. My skill set is obviously practicing law. It allows me to own my own business and practice law. That's not always everyone's not set up for that. But the point is that you can always start some kind of a side business, even on the weekends or in the evenings, to try to take back some of that power that you have as an individual to create and earn income outside of your regular 9-to-5 job. And it seems to me that if everybody could embark on that, it's empowering. It's empowering to wake up in the morning and understand that you can control that aspect of your life. Let me give you my personal situation. When I was coming out of law school back many years ago, all my friends were putting together their resumes and they were, searching and scouring law firms that were hiring and what the starting salaries were. And back in the mid 90s, starting salaries were $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for first-year lawyers. They would go work for a law firm and they could anticipate to be, having to bill, 70, 80-hour weeks for the partners of that law firm. And every one of the people I came out of law school with went that route, started interviewing with law firms and signed on as a first-year associate and became a W-2 employee. I knew that was not my path. I knew that I did not want to work for anybody. I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to make my own hours, and I wanted the fruits of my labor to go into my own pocket. And so I went a different route. I came to my town and I opened up my own solo practice, new lawyer, didn't know anything, didn't know anybody, and I built it. And here I am over 28 years later, and basically all of my business comes from word of mouth and referrals from other lawyers, other clients, and other people in the community. And I remember how scared I was. I remember that, the first day I opened my practice, opened my doors, I sat there. Phone wasn't ringing, there were no client files on the desk, and it's scary. Was the learning curve greater? Absolutely. There was no guarantee that the phone was going to ring. So what I do, I got out, and yes, back in these days we had phone books. I got the phone book out and I called every law firm in my town and said, look, I'm the new guy here on the block. I am looking for work. If you have any overflow work, any scraps you can throw my way, I would be very, very, very appreciative. And I did that. And I made some contacts. I also joined every business network group I could find in town, obviously the Chamber of Commerce, and I would go to all those mixers and coffee meetings and gatherings so I could meet people, form contacts, and build the basis for my business. I remember I adopted a slogan, which was, I return all calls. And it resonated with a lot of people because everyone knows lawyers are notoriously terrible at returning calls, and it frustrates clients, rightfully so. So my slogan was, I return all calls, and I did. Every call I received, whether it was something I could handle or wanted to handle, I returned the call and talked to people. So, you have to find a handle. You have to get out there and do it. I had a lot of detractors. I had a lot of lawyers say, look, you're making a mistake by doing this. You need to go work for a firm before. You need to cut your teeth under somebody. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. I had all those detractors. And that did not deter me. And I did find an attorney who was looking to have someone come in and work with him on a contract basis. And I ran my own shop, he ran his own shop, and I was able to mentor a bit from him. And that's how I started the business. And I worked harder at it every day. Are you going to work more hours in your own business than clocking in to a 9-to-5 job? Absolutely. Is there going to be more uncertainty? Absolutely. Are there going to be more sleepless nights? Absolutely. But you know what? It gives you motivation. To go back to the theme of that article, it gives you purpose. You're watering your own garden. And you're building a foundation, something that nobody can take away from you. No employer, no boss, no artificial intelligence robot, nothing like that. And it's something that every day when you wake up, it may give you that little bit extra to be able to get out of bed and say, look, at least I have, even if it's a side business, side hustle you hear all the time. It's so important, given where everything is heading, and given that I don't see cost of goods, food inflation, energy inflation coming down anytime soon. So give that some thought. Hopefully, you can implement that in your own life. Again, some people don't want that responsibility. Some people just want to clock in to a 9-to-5 job, get their paycheck, go home at night, sit on the couch. And if that's you, okay, so be it. But you're going to always be at the whim of somebody else. There is no such thing as job security. And when you have your own business, you create that job security and you eliminate that counterparty risk. So keep it in mind, something that you may want to implement. I strongly suggest it. If you're going to either start a new business or you're going to potentially buy a new business, there are some things that are super important that you keep in mind. And again, you need to get a lawyer, you need to get a CPA, you need to put the right team around you. I'm not acting as your lawyer by telling you this now, but I'm giving you some thoughts and tips, things that I have encountered over the years. Number one, do not overextend yourself. Do not take on too much overhead. Everybody says, well, we're going to start a business. We're going to go out. We're going to sign an office lease. We're going to print up all this business cards and stationery, and we're going to hire people. Take one step at a time. Be very careful signing leases that have any kind of a long-term on them. Please be careful, and to the extent possible, do not personally guarantee obligations. You should be, again, through consult with your lawyer, having your business operated and run through an entity of some sort, a corporation or a limited liability company. You want to obviously do your due diligence. If you are, whether you're buying an existing business or whether you're starting a new business, be careful overextending. Those are a couple of the tips, couple of things that I hope are helpful to you, and I will again try each day to bring something new. Once in a while I'll probably go back and I'll repeat some items I think are really important. Having your own business, being your own boss, to me is at the top of the list, especially where we're at right now, in society and with the coming collapse. Again, yesterday's first show seemed a bit down in energy. I apologize for that. It's a little bit different sitting here in front of the camera and trying to express thoughts. I have a few notes in front of me, so appreciate everybody's patience. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's show and you'll enjoy the coming shows. Thanks. Bye.